I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your participation today, and what we're hoping you'll find to be a useful amount of time for you in helping you understand a little bit more about AutoSTRIPE and how we're helping roadway marking design and having that work be done faster, cheaper, but also more accurately in both AutoCAD and MicroStation. I'm going to be presenting Alan Mason, who will be providing the webinar today. He's the product manager for AutoSTRIPE here at Keysoft Solutions. My name is Mike Schumann. I'm the Vice President of Sales and run the U.S. operations for Keysoft. A little bit about Keysoft. We're primarily AutoCAD and now for MicroStation with AutoSTRIPE provider. We've enabled not only roadway designers to get more client work done faster, more accurately, but we also have a couple of other tools, one for landscape architects and another for those designing runways, taxiways, and aprons in the aviation industry. We've worked very closely with several of the DOTs from some of the larger municipalities in the U.S., as well as some of the other federal agencies to ensure that AutoSTRIPE meets local and federal requirements. We were originally based in AutoCAD, but with an understanding that many of the DOTs are operating in MicroStation, we then developed a similar program and are both provided to our customers along with unlimited support for our customers, for those users. To get into a little bit more of detail, I'm going to be quiet now and turn the webinar over to Alan. And please feel free to reach out to me after the webinar. Should you have any further questions, my contact information will be provided at the conclusion. And with that, I'll turn it over to Alan.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much. And good morning, good afternoon to you guys that tuned in to listen to me and Mike. At the moment, I'll just pop my screen up just to show you what we will be talking about shortly. But first, whilst that's going across to you, I'll just introduce myself. As Mike said, I'm the product manager for AutoSTRIPE. I'm the product manager for a few of our products. But before I started working for Key, I actually worked for a local authority over in the UK, Manchester City, if you want to know exactly where. And that means I've actually got quite a few years of experience of doing traffic management schemes, signal junctions and road layouts. I was involved in underpasses, flyovers. I was involved in a tram system that was built and constructed in Manchester, as well as quite a few signing projects, such as the Commonwealth Games. We did a lot of traffic management and traffic signage for things like that. So it's not just all about how our software works. We have got quite a lot of domain knowledge about traffic management, and I hope you appreciate that when you see the products and how the product operates. So, okay, you can see on my screen here, I've got a MicroStation V8 open, and it's got a road layout, which hopefully you can see various markings that have been added onto this road layout, such as the crosswalks and the centre diagonal hatching. We're in MicroStation, and all the usual commands are there in MicroStation. So if I went to the settings menu, you can see the settings are there. If I went to the workspace menu at the top, you can see those commands are there. On the left, on the taskbar, which is what I've got open with all the AutoSTRIPE buttons, if I close that section down, you'll notice that the usual list of MicroStation things are still there, so you can still draw the things like place the circle and place the smart line. Those sorts of buttons are still there, but of course AutoSTRIPE has come along and added in a load of extra functionality on top of what MicroStation normally does to help you draw your road markings. And just the same as adding buttons on the left on the task menu there, you can see that the buttons are also duplicated at the top, so you can see things like the arrows are there. There's the section with the various arrow buttons. There's a section for longitudinal yellow markings there that popped up on the screen. Another pull-down menu to help you with things like editing objects, and another menu on the right over there for something like tools, which are not quite road markings, but the sort of things you might put on a traffic management layout, such as markers and delineators and things like that. So I'm hoping that I've already shown you a whole wealth of buttons, and the intention is that AutoSTRIPE will have it all in there, and it hasn't got anything missing. It's got everything that the traffic management people would want to add to a traffic management drawing. Right, so obviously at the moment on the screen I've just got a drawing that I've done earlier. I want to start a fresh drawing now, so I'm going to go to a layout that I've got that hasn't got any markings on. I won't bother saving that one that I had open. So here's a road layout now that's just loading up. So this is just a road layout that we might want to add some markings on. It's got a nice dual carriageway with a centre verge down the middle there, and various other junctions and intersections around. So it may just be that we want to add some road markings on here, so we would use AutoSTRIPE to do that. Exactly what you'd expect from AutoSTRIPE. It's got various linear markings here. On the left, I'm hovering over, and you should be able to see things like that. It's an edge line continuous, or if I go over to another button here, you can see that's a lane line dotted 2+4 and things like that. So you can find the appropriate line type you'd want to do down the road, and you'd pick that button and say, right, I want that 4-inch lane dotted. And I would come along and I would say, right, I'll pick a point where I want that marking to start, and then I'll pick another point, and then as I come round, I'll pick another point on the screen. And you can see as I'm moving around, you can see an arc is being created on the screen. I can pick up another point there. And as I come down the road, you can see I'll just pick a point at that location now, and then I'll come down the road a bit more and click another point. And you just carry on drawing like you would draw normally. And when of course, you right-click to finish things off in MicroStation, then you can see that hopefully that's a 2-foot, 4-foot marking has been added down the centre of that road along there like that. So very much a library of different line types. It's very much at your fingertips. If you want to do a particular 3+9 marking, I would pick that button there that says 3+9, and a similar sort of thing. I would then go along and say, right, I'll draw a point between there and there, right click, and it adds that particular marking on. Obviously, you can see that length of those dashes and gaps are 3+9 this time instead. So not only is it easy to create those markings, it's actually very, very quick to adjust them. If I was to just pick that marking on the screen, you should now see a bunch of blue blobs appear, or grips as we like to call them. And of course, if I wanted to tweak that and say, well, it wasn't quite in the centre, or I preferred it if it was a bit more central, I can just move that blob around. Just to show you a bit more of an exaggeration, as I move that blob around, I can move it down there, and you can see quite clearly and demonstrate that that blob can be moved around. And again, it may be that you just want it a bit more curved or a bit flatter curve. You can just tweak the amount of arc that's happening on that segment there with those round parts. So maybe that one's a bit too curved, I want to straighten that one out and things like that. So there's very easy. It's just a case of click points to draw the line, click points to adjust the line. And it is all about the speed and simplicity that AutoSTRIPE can give you for creating those things. Just to show you something else as well, down at the end here, you can see that there's the end grip. As I move it down there, it's adding extra dashes onto the marking. So it's not creating one of those enormously long dashes at the end, where sometimes when you try and draw a dash line type yourself, and you wanted it to be 3-foot dashes, you suddenly find you've got a 7-foot dash at each end and a couple of 3-foot ones in the middle. AutoSTRIPE won't do that for you. AutoSTRIPE will always give you 3-foot dashes if you've asked to have 3-foot dashes. No matter how much you adjust that, it will still end up with the correct length of dashes on there. So that was one thing I wanted to show you. And okay, it's only linear markings at the moment. I've got a lot more things to show you. But I just wanted to show you as well what happens when it comes to drawing the arcs, because I've tried drawing a few times in MicroStation, and quite often things like smart lines go quite hideously wrong when I try to draw them. Just to show you an example of what I'm talking about, if I was to go to the Play Smart Line button, and I'll pick a point on the screen there and say, actually, I want it to go on a curve around the road, so I'll go to the MicroStation command for drawing arcs, that's right. So then I'll pick an arc. Oh, the arc's gone off that direction. I didn't want that. And I'm trying to draw an arc around the roundabout, and I'm sort of having to move this circle around into a peculiar position just to get an arc drawn around the roundabout. And the end result is just nothing like I wanted from your road marking. And obviously that's one of the things that we want in AutoSTRIPE to be able to do much better in MicroStation. So when AutoSTRIPE comes along to draw a road marking along there, you would just pick a series of points where you want the road marking to go, and you pick a series of points going around. In this case, it's going around a roundabout, but hopefully you would just be picking a series of points down whatever road you want the marking to go down. And wherever you've picked the points, when you finish that off with a right click, you'll see that the marking gets added. And it's a lot more controllable. It's a lot easier to place those sort of curves. MicroStation seems to place the arcs in some peculiar way. I'm sure it's probably just my experience of MicroStation, and if I come a few more years of experience of drawing things with MicroStation, I might be able to draw it a bit better than that wiggly art there. But for the moment, I don't want it the way MicroStation draws. I much prefer it the way AutoSTRIPE draws them. So I've shown you there just some linear ones. Obviously, to complete the library, there's a lot of other things you would do in road markings. The most obvious one is things like arrows. So if I wanted to put an arrow on the drawing, I would go to the button on the left, pick the arrow. Obviously, I want to scale up to a peculiar size. I was scaling this drawing earlier between feet and inches. I think I've scaled it the wrong way on this particular one because that arrow's quite big. But if I just go over to the side here and put a couple more arrows on just to show you. It's just a case of click the button that you want. I'll click an insertion point on the screen, and I'll rotate that to whatever angle. So it is just a case of click and rotate, and that marking appears on the screen exactly how you want it. Not only is it just a case of click and rotate, when you come to move them or adjust them because you want another arrow in a different position, again, that's fairly simple and straightforward. Just like we did with the line, we click the marking that we've drawn, we click the blue dot there, and we can move it to a new position. So if I wanted to make it level to with that other arrow, you can do it. Another thing is you might want to rotate it, and you'll notice on the edge of that circle there's now a red blob. If I click that red blob, you'll notice that I can quickly rotate that. So if it happened to be that it was slightly out of line with the road, I can just click the item and rotate the arrow to a fresh angle along the carriageway, along the road, and reposition the arrows. And again, it's all about the speed and simplicity of being able to get these drawn. We're all always under pressure from the bosses to produce more drawings in faster time, and that's what really I want AutoSTRIPE to be able to do for you, and hopefully that's what I'm being able to show you at the moment. So there's some arrows, the symbols. So there's various other symbols around in the system. You can see there's lots and lots of buttons. I was just going to show you some text next because it works in a very similar sort of way to the arrows there that I've just put on. So if I wanted to put some text on this drawing, I would go there. It says do not block ahead. I think that's the one that says there. So if I click that one from my set of thumbnails, you can say, right, I want to put that on the carriageway here. So at that point, I'll zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. And then I click the insertion point where I want it. And obviously, I want to rotate that along the carriageway. So I would put that along the carriageway like that. And you can see it's just added the text onto the road in that location. And in a similar sort of way, if I wanted to move that around, you'll find there's a blue square at the insertion point that I put it. So if I wanted it on a different piece of road, so maybe I'll put it before the intersection there, and it's put it in that location. Well, of course, that's the wrong angle for that location. So that's where the red blob comes in, and the red blob will allow me to quickly reposition that angle again. So you can see there, it's all about speed of creating, but it's also about so much speed of editing these things. So there's text. Of course, that was standard text. If you wanted to type some destination or some unique piece of text, there is the ability to type some text in as well. So if I wanted to type some 8-foot text there, I can put the text in, rotate it that way down the carriageway, and then up pops this box that allows me to type any text I want to that location. So if I wanted to put some graffiti on the road and type Alan on the road there, I can just change that word text to Alan, and you can see it's added my name on to the road at that location. So again, not only is it a standard library of text, but you've got the ability to type whatever text you want for whatever traffic management you're doing at that location. destinations, highway numbers, etc. Right, so I've shown you some of the basic stuff there, lines, symbols, text. Where AutoSTRIPE really comes into a plus is when you start looking at groups of things. And just to show you a simple one, double lines without any of that pain. I mean, I'll show you, here's a 2+2 double dotted center line, just to give you an example of a double line. And if I wanted to go from that median there, and I was just going down the road, I'll click 1 point, 2 points, I'll right click to finish it, and there's a straight double line. It doesn't look that exciting, it doesn't show you what's some of the power that's involved in that. Can I just delete that off a moment and show you what happens if I do them in an arc? Then you might see some of the power that's has gone in and some of the work that's gone into AutoSTRIPE to get it to do what you want. Because there's now an arc, but the dashes are staying level with each other. And no matter how curved I go, if I decide now to make that more curved or bring it around there, you'll see as I'm moving that around, the arc has definitely gone very arced at that location, but the dashes are all staying level with each other. Something you couldn't just do with a line type. There's a lot of power in the AutoSTRIPE engine. That's just touching on the edge of these groups of markings. But there you can see double lines, no pain. You get the lines, they stay together, the dashes are all level with each other, just what you want out of a double line. So whilst I'm thinking about sets of markings, you may well think, well, actually at this roundabout, I might want some of those yield triangles. So, the next thing I'm thinking about is looking for some yield triangles. You'll notice there's a row there of buttons to do with yields and triangles there for yield situations. I'll just pick some of the yield triangle ones there, and of course in this case I'm doing an arc, so I'll pick 1 point at the start, 1 point halfway around the arc, and another point round towards the end of the arc, somewhere like that. I'm just picking that freehand on the screen, and at the end it's giving me a triangle, because obviously do you want the triangles on that side of the line, do you want the triangles on that side of the line? So I'll pick where I want them to be. I'll click over there, and I've drawn a line of triangles. I thought they were a bit big triangles, so maybe if I just remove that off and draw the smaller triangles. Let's go for the smaller ones. Same sort of thing, 3 points for an arc. Position the triangles that way. I know it does seem to be unusual on this one. I did that earlier today, and it was all fine. So I think it's something to do with my units in this particular drawing. But I will have a look at that afterwards, because whenever I've drawn that up till this point, it's all lovely. The triangles just look a bit big now at the moment. Let's go on to something else. Again, another thing where you can really gain some time savings. So I'm looking here maybe at the start of this median. You may want some of that centre road type of hatching. So again, it's another one of these groups of lines where you don't want to draw out every little bit of this hatching individually. You want it to be able to create a whole set of markings as quick as possible and make it as simple as possible. So there's various different ones, whether it's a diverge or whether it's a central one. I'll pick the centre one here. I'll make it a little bit bigger than you'd probably expect for this sort of position on the road, but I'll come down one side of it like that, and then I'll draw along the other side of it like that, and finish that off. Automatically create the centre, yes please. And you can see there the whole set of markings has been created at one go. Not only has it created the markings in one go, if I was to pick that now, again you'll see that the blue blobs are there. If I just move that so I've got a bit of extra space. If I wanted to move the apex of this marking, I just move it down the road, and you can see as I'm moving that around the road into whatever position, the whole set of markings is adjusting at the same as well. Just what you'd expect really. But if anyone's ever tried to draw those one by one and get all those little diagonals perfectly drawn and get the double-edged lines to stay level with each other, you could be there for quite a while. And you can see there, it's just a matter of seconds. AutoSTRIPE draws it all and allows you to adjust it as well. I call that the boss factor. When the boss comes along and just says, can you just change that by a little bit? Can you just change that? Hopefully now you'll see that you can change these sort of things so much quicker, and it's not so much of a pain when you have to do minor alterations to a scheme. It's very, very quick just to tweak those and adjust the markings automatically. So plenty of other sets of markings where it really comes into its own. Unusual way of drawing these, but it's just what you'd hope to. So I was going to go down, there's some parking bay markings here, there's some coloured curbing as well where your parking might be restricted, but I'll go for a set of parking bays, line of plus type markings that often used for parking bays. So it'll allow me to draw a line of them, but in this particular case I would like to pick the curb and actually have the parking bays offset from the curb. So we'll pick the pick option, pick the curb there. It's MicroStation, so I'll pick it again just to confirm that I've picked. And then it starts asking me to pick the start of the bay. I think it says down the bottom, so if I wanted the bays to start at this sort of location, I'll pick that point there. Maybe I want the bays to finish just before this this intersection down here where the pedestrians cross, so I'll finish that there. And you can see it's put the two green marks there where I've picked on the curve. So now it's asking me which side of that. I mean, to me it's obvious which side is the carriageway, but obviously the CAD engine just sees a line on a drawing. It needs to know which side do you want the parking bays next to that curb, obviously. So I'll pick on this side, on the carriageway side of that, click there, and that should add those markings on. And you can see there's a line of those on there, just while I zoom in a bit closer for you to see. And again, just like with the other things, you can edit that. Well, what's really nice actually is you can, if you decide, well, I want to shorten those and only have a few bays, I can grab the end and actually move it up and down the curb to a different position. So I can say, actually, I only want the start to happen at that location. It can adjust it. In fact, I can add the same sort of thing on the end. I can, funny message, oh no, it's still working. I can take that end right round the corner now, and you can see it's actually gone rounded to the side street there. I won't finish there. It looks a bit funny taking those round there, but maybe I want to finish that end at that point, like that. So you can see how quickly you can just move those parking bays up and down the road until it gets to the position that you're happy with. And sometimes when I've moved those up and down the curb on the drawing, I often think in the back of my mind, I wish it was that simple to move them up and down the road out there on the street. So, right, so other things, no blocking boxes, just in case again. It may be that the vehicles are coming down to this roundabout and you don't want them queuing back from the roundabout, so you don't want to block this intersection here. So just to show you again another group of markings, I'm looking for the note. There we are. There's my set of tools for a keep clear box or a do not block box, or one with a cross hatching or something like that. I'll pick that one with the cross hatching just to show them, and I'll pick up a starting point in the middle of the box at that side, starting point in the middle box of that side, and then pick a point for the width. So it's a slightly different way of drawing a box. You pick along the centre of the lane or the centre of the two lanes, if it happens to be two lanes, and then I pick the outside edge of the box like that, and it's drawn the box in there. So I'll just pick the box again to show you the grips are still there. If I wanted to make the box longer after I've drawn them, I can make the box longer. If I want to make the box narrower or wider, you can pick the side and you can move those around. So again, it's following the same sort of thing where it's easy to draw, quick to adjust as well. So just had a quick question from Amanda saying, is there ability to select a MicroStation element to draw the line? On the lane lines, at the moment there isn't. It is something that I do know we are bringing in very soon. By very soon in my books, that's probably about 6 months' time, or the next update. We've got a few little wishes to be able to pick a curb and put a lane line like 10 foot away from the curb, or to pick like a set out line where there's 3 or 4 lanes and you want to do a quarter of the way across the road or a third of the way across the road. We've got various tools like that we're working on to be able to do in MicroStation. And yes, it's coming soon is what's that ability to pick things on MicroStation, within the MicroStation part. But hopefully you saw, as far as the curbs go, it is possible to pick various curbs. So if I wanted a piece of curb by picking, I can pick that item there, pick that item there. I want the red curb to go from that location to that location. And you can see it's put in the curb. So we have got the ability on certain objects which are related to curbs, but I can understand the question to add other elements further down. Sorry, Amanda, I was just reading your following on from that. You were saying that, am I able to snap to the crosshairs placed for the parking layout? You should be able to. These objects, once they've been placed there, they should be MicroStation entities. So yes, if you were trying to snap to those crosses, then yes, you should be able to do that. So yes. So you're asking, the first question was, can I pick a MicroStation object to create an AutoSTRIPE? That's coming soon. The second question is, can I make use the AutoSTRIPE object to create a MicroStation thing? Yes, it should snap to those. Right. So what I was going to show you next, just various different buttons. You can see, you've probably already seen flying, and there's lots of buttons down that left-hand side, but you can see the various ones for parking and the disable symbol. But underneath there, I was just going to show you, we've got quite a few different things for cycle symbols, and various different things. There's a button there that does a symbol with a couple of chevrons above, which I know certain states and authorities have put that sort of symbol down. So if I've got my units right in the drawing, it would have come in the right size as well. So that's just to show you that one. There's various different line types again for the lanes, where these are double 2+2 on the edge of lanes and things like that. So various different line types are on there, where you can see the different sorts of symbols that are used in different places can be quickly added to various road layouts. So another thing, yes, another thing that's quite good for time saving, crosswalks. So so there might be a crosswalk coming across to this junction. So I'm just trying to find out. There we are. So we've got a line of crosswalks. Obviously, some places it is just a simple pair of lines there that I'm just pointing to on the menu. But to the right of it, you have got some of these other places where they use transverse lines. So a few different ways of drawing these. I'll just pick this one here that shows diagonals just to show you different ways of drawing them. Pick one side of the road, pick the other side of the road, and you can see a whole set of markings have just been created that simply, just by going from one side of the road to the other, and you've got a full set of markings there. We've got a few other different ways of drawing these crosswalks as well. We've got this one by centre. This one's a little bit more involved because you may have, I'll show you a quick one first on that. If I click one side of the road, click the other side of the road, on this particular one, then it says how wide is it, so I need to go out to half the width of the crossing to pick the outside edge of that crossing. It puts that in. But it may be a case that that crossing isn't at that angle. It may be a case for some reason that crossing is going diagonal down the road like that. And you don't want the bars going that way. You want the bars going parallel to the traffic. So I'll just remove that and show you that that's possible as well, with various different options. Actually, no, it wasn't a case of removing that. Perhaps I shouldn't just undo that delete, because what I wanted to show you was the red button. So I'll pick that button first and then click on it. That was what I wanted to do. So this red dot, that was the thing I wanted to show you. If I move that red dot to there, I can rotate those bars along the road like that. So that was what I was trying to show you. It was that red dot there. So you can rotate those to any particular angle along the carriageway like that. And end up, hopefully, with the bars as you like them. And again, the crosswalks, I'm just trying to think of another location where this might apply. They can get quite involved, and we've got another one here, crosswalks by edges, where I can draw along one side, and it may be for some reason this crosswalk actually widens out part way across like that, and I will then draw along this other side like that. So it looks a bit like a funnel, I know, as the shape I'm going, but it was just to show you can get quite involved on drawing the edges of these crosswalks. I've drawn the two sides now, and what it's now asking is to draw along the way the vehicles would go. So I pick one point there, pick another point along the way the vehicles would go, and as soon as I do that, you can see it's drawn a whole bunch of bars along the road like that. So again, just by drawing one side of the crosswalk, draw the other side of the crosswalk, and draw the line along the vehicles, you've got quite a complicated shape there that's been made very, very quickly. Again, drawing each one of those bars individually would be a real time thing, and pain I would have found as well. So the AutoSTRIPE will save you so much time when creating your designs. So I'm just thinking to see if there was anything else. I just wanted to move down. That's what. Yes, that was what I was going on to next. Right. So whilst we're talking about these sets of markings, I know Mike mentioned earlier that that some of the things we've worked on are with different agencies and authorities where they have different standards. So I know we spent a bit of time doing line types for the California lengths and gaps. So you can see you can do a stripe there that's 7+7. So if I was to pick that, it would do a 7+17. Sorry, just have to read the icon a bit closer. So that would do it to the California length of stripe and gaps. But not only that, why I went to California was in California and a number of the states around that area, they use a lot of these markers to represent the lines. So AutoSTRIPE can do that, and again, hopefully you'll see that it can do that really quickly for you. So if I was to pick this button here, this would be markers to represent a double line. So you just assume this is a centre of a road, and we were having a double line in yellow with markers there. I'll press return, draw that, and you can see a series of symbols have been placed to represent each one of those different markers, whether they're reflective markers or non-reflective markers. They've been placed in along there as well. So various different ones, even things like some of them might just be a lane line that has markers next to the lane line, so you'll have a combination of, it's not all replaced by markers, but it might be a lane line that's got markers on either side of the lane line. So again, you can see a whole combination. And the nice thing about that again is if I try editing that afterwards, you can see no matter how much I move that around, all the markers are staying level with there. If I go to the end and move the end grip further down here, you'll see it's put extra markers on as I've lengthened that line around. So wherever I was to move that on the drawing, obviously let's put it back to somebody more sensible, but you can see no matter how much I move that around, both the line and the markers are adjusting themselves quite readily as I move that around and edit it. So again, quick to create a series of markings, quick to edit a series of markings. And also, whilst we're talking about customization for various areas, it may be that you're saying, well, we don't use the standard 1030, we don't use the 717 that they do in California. We actually have our own marking that happens to be a 3-foot line with a 2-foot gap or something like that. So one of the really powerful things that AutoSTRIPE has got is the ability to do custom stripes. So so if I was to pick this particular one here, at the moment I haven't got any custom stripes set up. So there's a box popped up there. There's a button that says create a new custom line. So I'll give it a name. So maybe I'll because I want it to be 3+2. So 3+2. I want it to be. I'll give that the same. So 3+2 because that's what I want it to be. The line length is 3. The gap length is 2. And the width of the line, if I wanted it to be 6 inches, I might do that 0.5. Obviously, if I wanted to set it in inches or something like that, I could change the measurement using it to inches, but I'll leave that for feet at the moment. I could put it on a yellow layer or a green layer or a red layer and things like that, but I'll just leave that on the standard lines layer for the sake of it. If I pick save now, that 3+2 has been added to my list of different custom line types. That's the first one I've got on my list of custom line types. But now it's in the list, I can use the draw button to draw it as well. So pick draw, pick some points down there, and you can see quite readily it should, at the end of that, have created a line type that's 3 foot long with 2 foot gaps. So again, a very powerful routine here down on the menu for custom stripes where you can create your own line type. And again, if you've ever tried to define your own line type in separate LIN files and things like that, it's quite long-winded and not straightforward. And that one hopefully has now made it more user-friendly, and it's something that you can set up your own line type for if you have a unique situation where you have a different line type to the standard. So really that's getting towards showing you all the different things. I mean, there's plenty of other buttons on the menu. I could go on all night and carry on, but they're probably all getting very much the same, where you can see they're just different line types. I'll just click the button, draw that particular line, and you can see, and it will put that particular type of marking on the drawing. They're all very, very similar for the lines. When you get to the symbols, in a similar sort of way for the symbols, you would go along here for the symbols and say, right, I want that particular symbol, and it brings that particular symbol out of the library, and I would rotate it along the road in the direction you want. Again, it's all a standard procedure for being able to just place those quickly and accurately on the drawing. Right, so Amanda's asked a question on, she's asking how well does this convert to AutoCAD. All I can say is it converts as well as MicroStation converts to AutoCAD, which from everything I've seen up to now, it's very, very quick, because if I were to go to the Save As button, you'll notice obviously at the moment it's a DGN, but on the drop-down list, MicroStation allows you to save it as a DWG. So everything that's in that drawing will be saved in DWG format, and that will then be able to open in AutoCAD and be able to view in AutoCAD as well. So that should be very straightforward. In fact, the other way round, if you've got an AutoCAD drawing, obviously MicroStation, you pick File and Open, it will open the DWG for you as well. So again, it's very straightforward to open and save. The DWG format it's almost become an exchange format, which most other CAD systems and even Apple Mac systems quite often take in DWG formats into various different applications. So there shouldn't be any problem at all converting that to an AutoCAD drawing. I won't bother just saving it at the moment, but it should be fairly straightforward then. So just to show you, there's actually 3 sets of task menus there. There's different things here for editing, help you with editing. Oh, an interesting one on there was add a module. I've come across this plenty of times where I've drawn a line. If I zoom in a bit closer to this line so you can see what I'm doing now, I've zoomed on at the end. And a few times when I've drawn these things on the screen, I always think, oh, God, I wish it had been 1 dash longer, or maybe 2 dashes longer, or something like that down the road. On the edit menu on the left here, I've got something called add a module. I'll pick that button, and it just asked me to pick near the end of the road marking, so I'll click near the end of the road marking, and it should, if I pick near the end of the road marking, yeah, I'll pick near the end of that road marking, it's added a dash onto that. If I pick the end of the road marking again, you can see it's added another dash onto that. And you can see again, it's going over the top of that particular road marking. I'll click near the end of that one, and you can see as I'm picking near the end of that road marking, it's adding another dash on, and it's going down like that direction like that as well. So it is just a little tool, but there's lots of little tools like that within AutoSTRIPE just to help you improve your drawing. Further down underneath, you can see these tools here. We've got various symbols, so if you wanted a cylinder cone, for some reason you have some temporary work and you were just trying to say, well, I'm going to put a series of cylinder cones in. It is just a symbol that you can plonk on the plan at some location. And these various sign symbols as well, so maybe you had an object marker that you wanted on a reservation somewhere just to show that there was a hazard in the road, then you could put a symbol on there. They are just symbols that you can see you can plonk on there. The one that I'm trying to build up to is I'll need a little bit of space for this, so I'll just move my drawing around. We've got one here, it's called Markings Inquiry, and it questions everything that I've drawn up to now in this drawing and hopefully produces a table of quantities on that. So I'll just pick that inquiry button. I won't pick any of the other options, I'll just pick generate to get a default one. It asks for the top left position of the table, and that should now start adding up all the markings and creating some tables. Oh, it's zoomed out quite well there. So if I zoom in a bit closer, you can see that there was a solid there for the curb where I've got 30 meter. I knew I did in the wrong units. You can see I've got my drawing in meters because it's got approximate quantity meters. So there we are. We've got 30 meters worth of that solid curb there. I presume that was one of the coloured curbs. the 3+2 that I drew there, you can see there's 31 meters there. And in fact, if it was in feet, if anyone does know the conversion from meters to feet, you'll know that 0.9 is 3 foot and 0.6 is 2 foot. So you can actually see that it is, if I'd got my drawing units in feet, it would have been much better. And it would have shown you whole things. But just underneath there, if I zoom in on there, you've got do not block ahead, and we've got 15 letters on that particular one. We've got the word Alan, there was 4 letters, 1 message. Again, I've got some tables down here. I think this is for some of the other symbols, like this. There's a quantity 2 there for the cycle symbols. The yield markings, there was 24 of those triangles. And the channelizing markers, there's 18 of them. So you can see how it's adding up the different quantities that have been drawn in the drawing. And hopefully that's going to save you some time to be able to extract those quantities from the drawing. So I hope that answered your question. You just I wasn't reading the questions as they all popped up there, Amanda, but you just said, does it provide a quantity function? And there you are. It's called an inquiry routine. So hopefully that's answered that question. As I say, I've come across people before that's actually sat there in the drawing, in querying the drawing, and adding up the lengths of every one of these markings. So querying this marking and that marking. Actually, if you do want to query the marking, there is various other properties. If I go to the edit menu and look at the key properties, because this is one of our road markings, I can look at the key properties and I can pick on there, and that should pop up. I haven't shown you this dialog, but it's so easy to edit things with the grips. You don't often need to go to this, but there's a dialog here where you can see it's a lane dotted 2+2. What I wanted to show you was there's a length there for the drawn line length, and then there's an actual length of the marking, and that's to do with the fact that it finishes with a gap at the end of the line, and that's the difference between that 84 point something and that 85.6. And the inquiry tab on there gives you the actual quantity of mark of thermoplastic that gets laid onto the carriageway. So the inquiry tab gives you the quantity that you would be buying from the road marking crew or the lining gang, whereas the parameters there where it says drawn line length and the line plus gap length, that's what's actually on the drawing, including the spaces between the dashes. So quite a lot of information there on the quantity side, on the especially with the dash things. So there is other things as well, like on here you can see at the moment it's just a 4-inch line, but there's no reason why that couldn't be put up to 0.15. Is that a 6-inch line? That's a 6-inch line. So you can see that I can alter the width to that. If I go back to that edit width thing, go back to key properties and go back into there, you'll see that I can also turn it into double width line, because I know that the road rules allow you to have a double width line as well. And there's a quite simple tick for turning backwards and forwards between a not double width and double width line as well. So various different properties. I think that probably comes back into its own on the parking bays. So if I go back to where our parking bays were, and double click, so not double click, it's edit key properties, that's the one I want, edit key properties, and click the item here. The bay width, this is interestingly, that one is actually in inches at 96 inches. But if I wanted to increase the number of inches for that, you can see as I click the up arrow, the size of those bays can increase and decrease. It even allows me to alter the length of each of the parking bays as well in there, and you can see, so both the bay width and the bay length are all, you can alter those. And it is possible on a line of bays, quite often the one at each end is a slightly different size to the ones in the middle, because it's easier to drive in and out of those. So there's a different length there for the end one, which in this case is the first bay, isn't it? So that's just at that side. So if I just show you the first bay again, just to show you what actually was happening behind my little pop-up thing. So it was the first bay length. So hopefully you can see the first bay length is getting longer there as I'm altering that. And if I increase the bay gets longer, and if I decrease the bay will get smaller as well. So it is possible to alter the sizes of the end bays as well as the middle bays. And sometimes you'd rather type those in. You wouldn't normally type in meters, but obviously it's took the meters from the fact that I've got the wrong units on this drawing when I've been drawing them. So hopefully that's been of some interest to you. I just wanted to. This is for my own purposes now. Yes. Perhaps if I'd opened one that said feet on it, I might have got somewhere. I just wanted to convince myself that the yield triangles worked exactly how I was expecting them to work. Now I've opened one that's set in feet and not in meters. I will do a line of yield triangles going round this roundabout and put them in, and it's, they're still overlapping each other on those. I will have to have a look at that because that's obviously another issue. So I was just trying to convince myself there. So there is the ability to increase the separation on those. So if I make that much bigger like that, so it's, yeah, there's still some issue. Right, I will look at my yield triangles afterwards. Right, so what I want to do now is just sort of say, if there's any more questions, by all means, just send them through on either the chat or the questions box. But I was going to pass you back to Mike now. I've got some contact details for Mike as well, so that if any of you wanted to email Mike, you're quite welcome to use his email address. I'll pop that back up. So Mike, are you listening? Do you want to take over and just summarise where we're up to and how they should contact you if they're interested in buying AutoSTRIPE?
Happy to. First of all, thank you all for taking the time to attend the webinar. I hope you found it useful. We know that we're not changing the world here. We're not saving humanity. We're just simply trying to make it easier for road marking designers to get the work they're asked to do done every day efficiently, a little bit easier, but also with the additional quantity takeoff information they would have to give them the power to maybe budget projects or get a sense of what their future costs might be, in particular municipalities, if they need to go and restripe a road. If you do have any questions, if you think what we do could be helpful, we spend an awful lot of time thinking about what you guys do. And if you think it would be of interest and there's other information you'd like to have or anything else you'd like to learn, you can reach me at the contact information on the screen, and feel free to do so. Thank you again for attending. Alan, well done. Thank you so much. And we hope to have an opportunity to speak to the teams down the road.
Also, some of you are not used to Keysoft yet. One of the things I always like to say about Keysoft is how well we listen to our users and things like that. And we're always here to speak to you. We're always here to help you with any issues at all. And as a company, we're very, very good at responding to user requests. And just to show you one of those, with New York was asking for a marking that they use for continuity through intersections for cyclists. And they asked us, we decided to provide one. So if I can just flick back for a second to this drawing where I was. So I'm hoping that's going to pop back up on your screen for a second, just to show you somebody New York drew through a few of these and asked us to provide it. And we updated things, so we just draw the marking through an intersection, and we've got a marking that's similar to what they wanted for that particular junction. We're always listening to feedback from users. We're always responding to the things that they've asked for, and producing the markings that you want. So whilst you may have looked at that and said, yes, that does everything, but I've just got one marking that it's not on there, by all means feed that back to us, because it's we're very, very responsive as a company, listening to our users and adding things into various different places. So I'll put Mike's details back up now, shall I, so that if any of you are wanting to make a note of his email address, mike.schumann@keysoft.com. In fact, if you wanted to speak to me, I'm Alan at keysoft.com, ALAN at keysoft.com as well.
Well, terrific. Alan, thanks again, and thank you, everybody, for attending the webinar today.